Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
We're halfway through September. Lots to talk about, lots going on. Let's get to the panelists, and then we'll get to our discussion. Thanks for joining us. Here's Wendy Wiese joining us from the Big 550 KTRS. She's co-host of the Jennifer and Wendy Show. From STLtoday.com and the Post-Dispatch, Mr. Bill McClellan. From rawstory.com, the Riverfront Times, along with the Big 550 KTRS, where he hosts St. Louis in the Know, Mr. Ray Hartmann. And from the St. Louis American, we welcome Alvin Reid. But this week, we're going to start with you, Ray Hartmann. Enjoyed your show last night. Heard
Thank you.
State Representative Tracy McCreary on the program, and we recommend Ray's show every time you're tuning into radio in the evening. Okay, I got to ask you something about the results of, actually not the results, but Mark Mantovani, who ran twice unsuccessfully for county executive as a Democrat, has announced that he wants to be the Republican nominee for county executive in St. Louis County. So he'll be up against the incumbent Sam Page. Your analysis of this race so far?
Well, I mean, Mark Mantovani has a very good chance to win because unlike any other, I think almost anybody else the Republicans might have put up, 2 years ago, there was a four-way primary. And it was the people who were opposed to the incumbent, Sam Page, split the vote three ways: Jake Zimmerman, Mark Mantovani, and Jamie Tolliver. And I mean, I think Sam Page did fine. He got 38% of the Democrats, and Mantovani was second, I believe. He was, and so he's got a base. He's run twice. He ran against Steve Stenger and almost won that race. So he's got experience. The key thing to me is there's nothing to do with partisanship, in my mind, in county government. I mean, none of the issues that face St. Louis County have anything to do with being a Democrat or Republican. So I think it's irrelevant. And I will say this. I think if Mantovani is able to make this about Sam Page and about what a lot of people, including myself, feel is a lack of competence and ethical challenges, I think it could be. I think he has a very good chance to win.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to say, Mantovani did come close in the primary the last time, but when you're running a third time, I mean, that's like, oh boy, it's tough to overcome the image of not quite getting there.
And also, and also, you know, going to back when Chris Koster did it. This I'm going to change parties because this gives me a better chance of winning now. There are some basic fundamental differences in being a Democrat and being a Republican, and even at a county level. You said the two have nothing to do with it. Well, they do. Okay, and I think if you declare that, well, I was a Democrat yesterday, but I'm going to run as Republican, that tells me you're more interested in being in office than you are truly interested in serving the people. I like Mark. I don't like this move whatsoever. I think he gets more votes than Penner would have, but he goes down. And with relative ease.
Yeah, see, I can't handicap it like that. I think that most people are aware of the fact, Bill, that because of the stalking horse situation, and frankly, I mean, come on, you know, they split it four ways. If there had been a two-person race in that primary, it would have been. I think it would have been a very different story. And I think Mark Mantovani has really had a lot of traction. He's been on KTRS every Monday with McGraw, and I think that his passion for the county, his passion for the region, has really resonated with maybe some people who didn't have a chance to hear him during some of those earlier primaries. I think
it's hard to beat an incumbent, though.
No, I agree.
So I
agree.
would handicap it that Sam Page is well ahead.
And not only incumbent, but don't forget, Ray, there are certain structures that go along with being the Democratic nominee. You get teachers and unions and others who are, you know, just they're organized behind you almost as a matter of rote.
Well, you could. Look. I've just given up on handicapping races. I can't do it. But I will say this, and to the point about Democrats and Republicans, there are four and I've had one of the things about doing the show is I've really followed the county council like more than I ever dreamt I could or would or should. And there are 4 Democrats and 3 Republicans on the county council. Sam Page routinely loses on almost every major vote 2 of the Democrats, both of whom happen to be black women. On the Republican, on the other side, Sam Page has been outvoted, but the 3 people supporting him are 2 progressive white women and Ernie Tracus, who's one of the most conservative Republicans.
Which should tell you that this doesn't have any difference.
What it tells you, Alvin, is that party affiliations mean nothing in county
it doesn't
government.
on that council. But once again, I still think you have a lot of self-serving people there. I don't feel like I'm represented by pretty much anybody on that council right now.
I think that Mantovani is going to be far better in terms of negotiating and compromising with people than an anesthesiologist.
All right. At the end of
the interest of time, let's move on.
Plenty of time to talk about that.
Alvin, before we get to the next topic, Green Tree Festival, Kirkwood this weekend.
This weekend, Motown Review on Friday night, 2 days of fun and sun. Got a little warm up for us. But no, it's a good time. Be there. Right.
Hey, let's go to the city of St. Louis, where Megan Green, a member of the Board of Aldermen, defeated another member of the board, Jack Coder, in the primary. She got 54% of the vote. He got 46%. But what was really strange is that just 6% of the voters came out to vote. Now, that's probably because in this weird fashion, both of these individuals will go to the finals in November. So people probably thought, okay, what's the point? Did Tuesday's action mean anything whatsoever?
Well, I think it does. I mean, I think if you want to win, first of all, I don't care if it was 12 votes. You know, I'd want to get 7 of them, because to me that would foster that I can win. I know that now, and I should win. And so I think the both of those came out of it. The low turnout was because we're going to be a do-over, and people know that they're going to be out voting like in the midterm election, and these same 2 people will be on the ballot. But I do think it means something. And I mean, you know, 53% is 53%. It wasn't 50-49.
I don't think it meant anything, and I don't despair. I think I'm getting soft in my old age, because I think I like both of these candidates, and I'm not, they are definitely represent different points of view and different interest groups in the city, without any question. But I don't think, the reason I don't think this one mattered and the 6% didn't matter is, and it's because of the unusual nature of the way the approval voting is working. And I think it's fine, by the way. It just happened that there were only 2 candidates in the race who were going to run again. I like the system. I mean, it could use some refinement. I think the one thing needs to be refined about the system is when you keep having the situation where you have 2 people and then you got to run 2 people again. But I think that it's going to be a very interesting race. I think they're both fine.
I thought it was really interesting that in his statement after the election, Coder, I apologize, Coder, he was saying that he's expecting 12 times the turnout in November that we saw over, in the last on Tuesday. I think he seriously is wanting to go out and meet thousands of people, because he still thinks that he has a shot. If he can get the vote out, I don't think that it's, I mean, it's a long shot, but it's a shot.
Well, I like Coder, and that probably torpedoes any chance he has in the city. But you have to remember that, Corey Bush,
I was just going to say
Congress.
That. Yeah.
Kim Gardner won the circuit attorneys. Tashara Jones is the mayor. The idea that Coder can kind of run in the middle lane when Megan Green has that far left lane, that doesn't bode well for his chances.
And Corey Bush is on the ballot also.
That's true.
That's the one thing. And it's just,
that's true.
Well, Megan Green,
I realize that, but nonetheless, if I'm going down there to vote and I know I'm a Corey Bush person, who am I voting for?
I just think they're both. All I would say is they're both good. It's clear that Megan Green, with Mayor Jones's support, is certainly the favorite. And I think that, as I say, I don't think it's fair to just call her far left. I mean, she's definitely progressive, but I think Megan Green's fine.
But
how about that? Almost far left.
Well, is the progressive movement getting the kinds of results that voters want?
Well, we're going to find out. I think you're going to find out. I think because Jack Coder's certainly got support among, I guess we call the
okay. Wendy Wiese, I want to ask you about 2 state capitals. In Illinois, in Springfield, the governor there, J.B. Pritzker, not only has reduced food and gasoline taxes, but now he's going to be sending out rebates to people just before the election this year. That's because Illinois has a budget surplus. Now you go to Jefferson City, and Mike Parson, the governor of Missouri, wants to do the same thing. Don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but he wants rebates going to taxpayers who are income taxpayers. Do you like this rebate mania?
I think it has less of I don't know. So, I mean, it lands a little bit softer in Missouri than it does in Illinois. I mean, with all of the challenges that the state of Illinois has for this. I mean, it's politics. It's what happens before an election. And I love the way Governor Pritzker, when he was asked about the proximity to the election, he kind of looked at his toes and said, "Well, it took a while to process everything." This is exactly what he's doing. He's giving a Christmas gift early.
Well, but I think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm sorry.
No.
No, I was going to say, surplus, if you have a surplus, and there's a right way to do it and a wrong way, I think, and it is not because it's Democratic or Republican, is if you're going to, what Mike Parson's talking about is a permanent half-cent cut in the income tax, which will disproportionately help the upper income folks. And it's exactly what you shouldn't do with a surplus. If you want to talk about taxation in the tax code, you got to look at the whole picture and make a considered judgment about how you get revenues as a state. If you have a bunch of money that you have available to give back to people so that they can in turn stimulate the economy, there's nothing wrong with it.
It's so obvious.
I think there's nothing wrong with it.
Go to Illinois for a moment.
Right.
You know, 2 weeks ago we were talking about the tremendous pension problem they have. And it seems like when you have a surplus, the grown-up thing to do is say, we have this huge debt over here. It's like a family budget. You know, and all of a sudden you have some extra money, and instead of treating it like mad money, we're just going to give it to all the kids to say, hey, we have this big debt. Let's pay that down a little bit.
But that's not sexy.
But that's
No.
not
That's
Yeah,
not
but you
sexy.
guys, wait, but you forgot, and you said gifts. The governor there has 2 gifts that are going to keep on giving and giving more every month, and that's legalized marijuana and gambling. And if you look at the numbers every month that Illinois takes in on taxes, it's going to like be as much as Missouri's budget in about 5 years.
Well, hang on a second, Alvin.
The pension sinkhole isn't going anywhere.
I mean, with all due respect, you're talking about hundreds of millions when it comes to marijuana sales, right?
Yeah.
But the pension deficit is $135 billion.
But I'm talking. I'm not even. What I'm saying is the pension. Fine, take the little trickle of money and do that with it. You could. But what I'm saying is we're talking about this rebate check and say like, hey, I'm going to give the people back some of the people's money that they have been spending.
Right.
That's all. I'm not saying this will fix the pension.
It's not enough. Bill. It's not enough. It's not enough to fix the. You can't even weigh whatever needs to be done, which is above all of our pay grades and maybe everybody's.
It's not necessarily.
The pension,
It might be
you've
above
got
yours,
you've got
but
the
not
easy
ours.
answer for. Okay, you've got the easy answer for
No,
Illinois' pension problem.
Let me
But
say
my
this,
point
Ray.
is, it
Ray,
isn't
it's
going
so
to be
clear to
cured.
me. You like
Right.
Pritzker's because he's a Democrat, and Parson is a Republican, and what he's doing, they're both giving money back to the taxpayers, right? But they both have unfunded problems. Whether it's the pensions or how about the sewers at Cahokia Heights?
Ray
How
made
about
a
East
good
St. Louis?
distinction that when you have a surplus, you don't change the tax code.
That's right.
Because in 3 years, you might not have a surplus. That was a
That's all I'm
point
saying.
well
And
taken.
by the way,
that is-
it- just a
But
minute
he
ago,
says that in
I think-
Illinois, it's stimulative. He says, Ray says, if you send the money back in Illinois, it's stimulative.
hundred.
He never
I was
said
just-
that about Missouri, though.
I think I just was in trouble for liking Mantovani because he's a Republican and not liking Page because he's a Democrat. Now I like Pritzker because he's a Democrat.
I thought you said the
said-
county party doesn't matter.
It doesn't, actually.
Yeah.
And yes, I do like Pritzker because he's a Democrat.
All right.
Because nationally, the Republicans are.
Speaking
the
of money, I
party
hope
of
it's not
insurrection.
above our pay grade, Ray, to talk about money, and at least when they're big sums. 500, but it might be actually for some of our elected officials. There's $512 million, Wendy, that the Regional Sports Authority in the city and the county got as a result of a legal settlement with former St. Louis Rams owner Stan Kroenke. So it's $512 million, and now for the second time in 3 months, it's being reported that this money is being stuffed in a mattress. It's in a low-interest-bearing account, and at least by one estimate, we're losing $28,000 a day because this money is languishing in basically a very low interest achieving account. What's going on? Is this purposeful, or are people really, like Ray says, is it over their heads? They don't know what they're doing.
First of all, I thought that Mayor Jones and County Executive Page were going to work together. Didn't everybody else think that? I mean, weren't they just going to be the new Bonnie and Clyde, and everything was going to be fine?
I don't think they called themselves Bonnie
probably not Bonnie and Clyde.
I think they are being Bonnie and Clyde with the taxpayer money.
I think that was
Roy Rogers and Dale.
Roy, I like that. But the fact that they can't, when you talk about services that are not available to city residents and all of the things that could happen with these with this money, that for whatever reason they can't even negotiate what they're going to do with it or where they're going to put it, does not bode well for the next couple of years.
Unless
at all.
You take one money for this. Well, you can go to a higher, interest account. Does that increase the risk? If something were to happen unforetold and the things went just south economically very suddenly, how much would it be their fault if we lost all the money? If you would have left it in the low barrier account.
But that's what leaders do,
well,
right?
Yeah,
they make decisions.
but leaders make decisions. Maybe they say, let's hold off until this deal is done and just leave the money where it's at. Okay, because once we move it, then we can't take it out as fast, or there's just some nuances that maybe we don't know because it doesn't. But let me put it this way:
for that to happen, the banking system would have to crash.
No, I'm saying some nuance that we don't know, other than just like something were to happen. I mean,
well, the committees ought to understand the nuances, and they're the ones who keep voting to, let's put this money in, in a safe money market sort of thing, but paying a little more than this one. And I don't know enough about finances to know how possible that is.
I think my mother's Florida Christmas Club account gets more interest.
okay. Well,
I mean, honestly.
just to be clear, I uniquely know less. Okay, but I do. I uniquely am not going to comment on this, other than to say it is surprising. It is surprising that the two political, to Wendy's point, two public officials who probably seem to get along better than everybody, which is, at least at this point, Tashara Jones and Sam Page. If the paper's correct, it's their decision. And I think instead of all of us, anybody speculating, think about how much expertise in investment finance there is in St. Louis. All these places, all the resources are out there. It is
in their own administration.
Well, I was going to say it's puzzling. Let's put it this way, and hopefully it'll get fixed soon, because it really doesn't help anybody to have.
I wish all of those
in fact,
genius.
it hurts them.
I just think that within the towers of these places where we have all these financial geniuses, I bet you one could tell you, I know exactly what's going on, and it does have to do with fiduciary responsibility. That's all I'm saying.
No,
could be true. Okay. And speaking of Bill, money, Bill, Cortex Innovation Community is right down the street from Channel 9. It's on Forest Park between, Duncan and Taylor and other streets. And it's really grown since it started in 2013. 400 businesses, 6,000 employees. And some of the top names in town are associated with it, from BJC to St. Louis University, the Missouri Botanical Garden, and Washington University. They're trying to grow businesses, high-tech and otherwise. And now they're asking for an extension of their tax breaks, which expire in 2013. In February, they'd like the $80 or so million in tax increment financing to go beyond that, so that they can repair sewers and build a bike lane and more. The mayor's for it, but Tina Peel, the member of the Board of Aldermen whose district Cortex resides in, is not so sure. Do you think Cortex should get these tax breaks?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Cortex seems like it's one thing the city is doing that's working, and it's being a big success, and these tax breaks were promised to Cortex back in, 2013. So this isn't, they've got their hand out again now. They're saying this was promised to us. We didn't get to everything yet. We'd like it extended. And so I say, yeah, as long as this is working.
But here's what we have accomplished.
So I think you look at their record and you go, okay, we are going to extend this for you. Not necessarily give you more, but extend this.
I have to confess, I'm sure I'm the only one on the panel that sat through twice through the Zoom calls on this, and this is not above my pay grade. And with all due respect to our provocateur, here's what this is about. This is about collective billionaires in the sense of WashU, SLU, with all their endowments, and BJC, and this is about entitlement. And what you left out of the equation is what they want. There's two pieces to this, first of all. One is a development that's underway, that's sort of a conventional TIF thing, that is a bad idea, in my opinion, but a debatable one. Then the second one is they have, I guess the pandemic ate their homework, but they had some 20-year TIF deals, TIF authorizations that have expired. Only because of their incredible clout do these people want to, and the thing you left out is they want to do this out of the mouths of the school kids. They want to get tax abatements from the schools when they could be going and find, they have all the resources.
We ought to just get rid of Cortex, right?
No, we're not talking about getting rid of Cortex.
This is something that's working.
And it's going to keep working, Bill.
Arguing against TIFs, I'm against TIFs too generally, but you have something that's working and they want to expand it.
What
to
part
say that,
of,
well, BJC is a
excuse me,
perfect be the enemy of the good.
No, let me explain to you. They don't need the money from the schools. They can go to the bank.
Oh, Ray, all
go to the
TIFs
bank.
come from the schools.
No, I'm talking about these guys do not need this money, and what they're also getting, which no one's ever gotten, is no, I'm telling you, they are just doing this because of their
Ray,
power. It's all it is.
Don't forget, now, and I generally agree with you on TIFs, but I will say, don't forget on this one, the money you're talking about for the schools, that won't be going to the schools if they don't build. Right? Because you're talking about the residential complex that will generate a property tax, and currently that's vacant land that's not generating money.
In the Business Journal, they said the developer, Keeley, doesn't even need this. This is about
Well, the city doesn't need it either. It's got $500 million from Stan Kroenke. If they're going to lose $5 million from the schools,
they're not.
They could take $5 million from Stan Kroenke and give it to the schools. If that's what Cortex is
all
taking.
the Cortex needs, if they're short on one of their projects, and again, there's two issues here. The second one is Cortex decide. We all know we had Sam Fiorello on. I was there with him.
Where?
Look. On next show. And it's a great, no one's arguing, but you don't give them a Lifetime Achievement Award. The point is this, they don't, and what they want now is to be the only entity that gets advanced TIFs without a project. Half of this, what they're really talking about is they want
Two
TIFs.
of their projects are
Trust us.
unnamed. Two of them are unnamed.
Unnamed. Guess who doesn't get that? Every other developer in the city. It's all about politics.
Can I say
That's
something?
all it is.
Why not?
I said, well, I think that we've said before that this whole thing with the TIF is you're going to have some are ridiculous. It's a case-by-case study. I'm with you, Bill. On this case, I would help them out. Now, you're just making it sound like everybody over there is evil, man.
No,
and that just ain't right.
I ain't saying they're evil.
And just because they've been successful, I mean, that's something you should applaud instead of saying,
Bill,
these are rich
Bill,
people.
do you know why? Do you know why they can't get it? One of the things, and Tina Peel, by the way, just happens to have an independent perspective.
We've all talked about Tina Peel. Great.
I think she's great. But here's the deal. All they have to do is re-up the two TIFs that have expired. They had 20 years, I understand, to do them. They expire next year. Okay, great. So you know what they could do? They could go back and reapply. You know why they don't want to reapply? Because they wouldn't qualify them because they're a victim of their own success. They don't need the TIFs anymore.
I ain't buying that.
And the
I'm going to say, like, they're probably just trying to, hey, yeah, we could do that.
I totally disagree with you, Ray. No, Ray, you're wrong. Everybody gets TIFs.
What entity receives a TIF that deserves the TIF?
Lots of them. There's a lot of programs. TIFs are a good tool.
And if they are reapplied, you would not give it to them?
I'm telling you, they aren't reapplying because they know they won't get it. Not me.
I will say the one thing, Ray,
I don't decide this.
One thing you got to acknowledge that I don't think you have is that they are bringing people in from all over the world, and they're doing work. We're not talking about a strip mall. We're not talking about a restaurant that we already have.
You know what we're talking about? One, we're talking about a residential. Excuse me. We're not talking about bringing people in from all over the world here. Look,
yes, we are.
No, wait.
They are coming in.
I am not.
And I just want to say something. Excuse me.
Cortex has done great
What they're
stuff.
working on right now is they're talking about developing drugs that are currently being made in China, and they're developing them so that we're not relying on China for these brain cancer drugs. We want to manufacture.
That's not what these tips are about.
Would you characterize the mayor's relationship with Cortex as, is it adversarial?
No,
she's
okay.
on the same page.
She supports it. I'm trying to tell you.
And she said that she, when running for office, like Cortex, places like that, need to be, when we do projects, taken, you know, like, and she
Jones
said
has been
that.
perfect on it.
Right. She never did say they were always bad.
She's in favor of it.
I know she is,
Okay.
but she's arguing, as she should, that they have to step up and do socially positive things. My point to you, I think the Cortex has been fabulous for St. Louis. That
Sounds like it.
No, it has. But the problem is we're not talking.
Billionaires, Ray, trying to take money.
What I'm trying to tell you is that this. No, I am saying they have been.
Gotta wrap it up, Ray. Thank you so much. Hey, if you'd like to comment on the topic, you can certainly do so by writing us. Care of 9 PBS, 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. Don't forget those emails, Donnybrook@9pbs.org, and those tweets. We love them. Hashtag DonnybrookSTL. You can listen to us on the 9 line, 314. No, share your comments on the 9 line, 314-512-9094. And you can listen or watch us on your favorite podcast source. That would be Apple, TuneIn, what do we got? Spotify, Google Play, and don't forget our website as well. And I also want to remind everybody that there's the Media History Archives fundraiser headed up by Dan Dillon and Art Holiday of Channel 5. It's the 24th of September, and you can go to stlmediahistory.org for those tickets. They're friends of ours, preserving great programs like this one, we hope. Thanks so much for joining us, but don't go away, because in just a moment, Bill and Wendy will be talking about flooding and our response here in the greater St. Louis area. Thanks for joining us.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9 PBS.